Hi, today is February 2nd, 2023, and this is my seventh take trying to get these poems recorded, so if I screw it up, I might just stick with it this time. Fair warning? Is that fair? Hope so. Okay, here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 193 for the year, The Small Stuff. I often think the small stuff acts the way it does because it wants to be sweated. When I sweat the small stuff acts all innocent, like, hey, I'm just doing me. I'm not making you sweat. You're just sweating. Your reaction is your reaction, the small stuff says. Post hoc, ergo propter hoc. You feel me? Just because you react, that doesn't mean I'm causing the reaction. That's what the small stuff says. But when the small stuff says this to me, I feel like I'm being gaslighted. But then when I say that to the small stuff says, have you ever even seen Gaslight? And I say, of course I have. It's a great fucking movie. And then the small stuff says, I know, right? And then we get into this whole discussion about the films of George Cukor and Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer and Joseph Cotton. And then I asked the small stuff if it knew that Gaslight was Angela Lansbury's first film. And the small stuff says it didn't know that. And then I think the small stuff is lying to me because what are the chances that the small stuff would know Latin phrases and George Cukor movies, but wouldn't know that Gaslight was Angela Lansbury's first movie? I suppose it is possible. I actually didn't know until I looked it up on Wikipedia recently. But what are the chances that the small stuff would have never looked up Gaslight on Wikipedia? I suppose that's possible too. So maybe the small stuff isn't lying about that, but then I realize that the whole discussion is a red herring to distract me from the effect that the small stuff has on me, and then I start sweating the small stuff more than ever, which, I maintain, is exactly what the small stuff wants. Poem number 194, Snow. When I went out to run a quick errand yesterday morning, there was snow on a few of the cars. I wondered if it snowed up north, and maybe these cars had come down from the north earlier in the morning. But no, there was snow on some of the buildings, too, and the chances that someone went out earlier and coated the buildings with snow strikes me as slim. I can only conclude that it snowed yesterday morning or late the night before because I was out earlier the night before last and wasn't no snow. And I don't mean to overstate it. It wasn't even what you would call a thin blanket. More than a feathering or a dusting, but less than a blanket. Still, snow is snow. So there you go. It was nice to see snow for the first time this year, even though it's all gone now. What little there was has melted, at least in my neighborhood. And this morning I was sorry to have seen it go. Bye-bye, snow. Bye-bye, snow. Poem number 195, That Was What I Was. The mind is mired in a thick morass like a piss-filled glass or a shit-filled ass or a gas-filled belly or a head full of jelly with a body so smelly that all the mind can think of is the smell and the head full of jelly and the belly full of gas and the ass full of shit and the glass full of piss. The walls and floors are smeared with mud and puke and garbage and shit and blood. There may even be some on the ceiling. At least that was what I was feeling. Writing this has cleared my head, and now I am amused instead. It's strange when things turn on a dime. Perhaps I'll figure out why sometime. Poem number 196, Metaphors. When you are being metaphorically and repeatedly stabbed in the heart with a pair of scissors, it is helpful to keep in mind that eventually the person metaphorically stabbing you will grow tired and either leave with the metaphorical scissors, in which case you just need to tend to the metaphorical wound, or they will leave, leaving the metaphorical scissors in your heart, in which case you just need to pull the metaphorical scissors out of your heart and then tend to the metaphorical wound. Either way, you can be glad that the stabbing, the scissors, and the wound are merely metaphorical and not actual, because actual stabbings in the actual heart create much more painful actual wounds in most cases. And the last one for today is poem number 197, What Day It Is. For the first half hour or so today, I thought it was the 3rd, not the 2nd. It's a short month, but it already feels like it's been around a while, and I thought I was farther into it than I was. That happens sometimes. Sometimes it's later than you think, and sometimes it's sooner than you think, and sometimes you know what day it is. All right, so if you're inclined, next Tuesday, February 7th at 7 p.m., I'll be reading with some other folks at KGB Bar, 37 East 4th Street, I think. It's East 4th Street between 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue. So you can't miss it. I mean, you can miss the show, but if you were to try to find KGB, you wouldn't be able to miss it. There's a big sign or a bright sign. So anyway, if I don't see you there, perhaps I'll see you somewhere else. And thank you for being here now.